What's going on, everybody? This is Dan Goodman of the Business of Strength podcast. I'm back in the mix this week. Joe, myself, Adam, we're going to be bringing you a three-part series of the biggest takeaways from the annual Strongest Year Program retreat. If you're brand new to the podcast, we ran an event in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. We had almost 40 people there. Gym owners and fitness professionals from all over North America, well represented by many states. We had a bunch of people from Toronto, Windsor, Canada. We even had guests, Nolan Sana from that traveled all the way from Breda, Netherlands, which was incredible. And our sponsors, Elite FTS, Power Athletes, Simmons Media, and Anchor were all well represented there, swagging everybody out, some amazing raffles, and we enjoyed just 2.5 days of a lot of fun, right? There's no union in strength and conditioning. So when you're able to get together with a group of like-minded people that are actively trying to just professionalize this industry, right? It's empowering and it's fulfilling. And even though we were the hosts of the events and we're doing a lot of the education, I learned so much from these events. And when it's over, it's like, it almost felt like if you've been married, it's like at the end of it, it's you put your head in a freaking washing machine and you're talking, you're having fun, and all of a sudden it ends, and it's just like this dump of energy of just 2 days of just, running around and having a great time. And I knew that would be the case. So flew the family out and we had an awesome week-long vacation. It put me out of the gym for 2 weeks, which was the longest I've ever been away from the gym ever, including the honeymoon. And was able to have my parents out there, my extended family, aunts, cousins. We had a blast. And now I'm back in the mix at the gym and going to talk to you a little bit about some of the biggest takeaways from the event. I know Adam's going to be doing one, Joe's going to be doing one, and I'm going to be doing one. And we really are going to stay in the realm of what we talked about and the questions that we got, on the breaks, at the happy hour, at the rooftop party, during the workshops. And I'm going to just touch upon the things that really are still capturing my attention now. It's Friday, October 13th, so I'm almost 2 weeks removed from the event, and these are the things that are still lingering on the top of my mind. So before we get into that, we have next week, Wednesday, I think this will come out before then. Hopefully Maddie Sims pushes it out prior to, but we have a free marketing and sales webinar on Wednesday, the 18th at 1:30 p.m. You could sign up for that at the show notes or at thebusinessofstrength.com. The Instagram feed, it's right there in the bio. You could click the link. And we host our next 2-day Business of Strength seminar, which will be the last one for the year, on November 30th and December 1st. And you could sign up for that at the link in the show notes as well. So without further ado, my biggest takeaways. Well, first and foremost, as I said, it was a ton of fun. And anytime you can collaborate with 40 other people working in your space, you are going to get a lot out of it. So if you have not left the confines of your four walls because you're making the excuse of, I don't have time, nobody's here to run sessions, no, the place can't run without me, yada, yada, yada. You have to find the time in the next 3 months, 6 months. It could be a Saturday. It could be a Sunday. I don't care if you drive up and you spend time with somebody that you respect in the industry. It could be a booked phone call, whatever it is. You got to get out of your four walls and get insight from other people, preferably in person. I'm old school. I don't believe that you can learn online the same way you can learn in person, because there's so many nuanced things of just that can't be recreated through a screen, right? It's, obviously virtually right now, we're learning through a podcast. I think the podcast forum is great, but it's not as great as our live events. And I can guarantee you that. So That's the first thing. The power of live events is real. I learned as much being there as anybody else, just from other people. Everything from how our CRM order responses should be working, from scheduling, from pricing, learning from our vendors, signing coaches up for continued education through Power Athlete, getting Anchor units in our gym because it's always been a problem with freestanding, cable machines. So we got a full fleet of those. It was just overall a great event. So you got to get out of your four walls. The second thing, I was tasked with talking about leadership, and I'm not going to go through my entire lecture. You got to show up for that. But I am going to touch upon the three things that really captured people's attention. And the three things I broke down were if you're a gym owner or GM and you have a coach and you've delegated some responsibility and you have somebody that has the ability to do a console or write a program, what do you do now with your time, right? Your gym is not where you want it to be financially, but the lowest form of leadership is to delegate a role and then meddle in that role. So you don't want to do that. So what do you do with your time? And how do you ensure that you can contribute at a high level? I mean, people always talk about, you don't want to do the $20 an hour jobs anymore. You got to do the $100 jobs. You got to do the $200 an hour jobs. I think a lot of times people just don't know, like, what is a $100 hour job? What is a $200 per hour job? And if you don't know what it is, how do you get there? Well, the jobs, in my opinion, it's threefold for a quote unquote facility leader or CEO. The first thing is leads. You must always be focused on acquiring leads. Alex Hermosi, if you didn't see it, Joe was just on an episode with Alex, which was awesome. We had Jimmy Contrini on the show recently as well, who's this content manager, and they've been very gracious with their time and knowledge with our group. You will go out of business without leads, bottom line. So even if you hire an agency, like, they're not going to do all the work. You have to hold them accountable. If you are the owner of a brand or owner of a gym, nobody's going to be able to sell the story better than you. You are the story. So you can't ever take your eyes off of generating leads for your building. Can't ever stop. And whatever median you prefer, live events, public speaking, email, social, you like tinkering with ads, whatever it is, you got to be a contributor in some realm. And if you get to a point where you can hire a sales manager, hire a marketing manager, I still believe that you need to be part of the client acquisition process. Okay. And at the very least, measuring the scoreboard, so to speak, of how many leads are we getting and from what source? How many consults or trials are we getting and from what source? How many of these people are turning into clients? What is the lifetime client value? What's our attrition rate? Like, all these things need to be front and center in your line of sight at all times. Number two is leadership. People be like, well, what is leadership, or how do you quantify leadership? I've read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and I make everybody read that. So that's my leadership. Or I'm the first one in and last one to leave. That's my leadership. Or, we have a great culture. We go to happy hours on Fridays, or we get pizza every quarter, whatever it is. It's like, all that stuff is good, but how do you quantify leadership? And there's 2 things that we really talk about when it comes to leadership. And it's really like, obviously there has to be, let me back up a little bit. So the 2 things that I'm talking about, it's motivators. It's knowing motivators for humans on your team. And motivators for people you can have external motivators and internal motivators. And internal motivators for humans on your team, the internal motivators are people want to be part of a winning culture, right? They want to be part of a team where goals are achieved. People enjoy public recognition. People enjoy knowing there's going to be improved working conditions. right? Those are all internal motivators that you have to keep in your line of sight as a leader of a business. The second part of it, the external motivators are cash. Obviously, people want to make more money, so you have to lay out what making more money looks like in your company and how it can happen, aka career trajectory, right? Or career advancement. External motivator could be a prize, right? For a client total, a transformation total, a referral, reactivation, results for your clients. An external motivator might be paid time off for somebody. An external motivator might be a way in which somebody on your team can have supplemental income. Like, let's say they work 40 hours, but they're willing to work 5 more. Can they get paid for those 5 more? What does it look like? How do you build that in? If, say, they want to do some private training on their off day, or they want to do overtime, like how do those things happen? And you, as the leader of your business, have to know there's 2 ways to motivate people. There's internal motivators, which were listed first, and external motivators, which we just talked about. Those are the primary factors, right? You have to know those first. And once you know those, the way in which we quantify leadership is, number 1 is accountabilities. Who does what and when. Number 2 is, what's your training process look like? Like how are you contributing to the training process? Do you have a plan? Does the new hire know what's expected of them in the first 3 months or 6 months or a year? I was just talking to a colleague who I've known for a few years, and we were part of an executive group together. And I think he's one of the sharpest gym business owners in the country. It's Connor. His name's Connor Flayhive. And he said to me, this is literally just before shooting this podcast, he said to me, I think it is, in regards to leading a team, he goes, I think it is irresponsible, was the word he used. I believe it's to be irresponsible to think you can hire somebody and not give them any presence of your time during the onboard. I think it's irresponsible to not give them any of your time or presence in their onboard. And it really struck me, because I think sometimes as you grow, you believe, oh yeah, I'm just going to hire the right person, put them in the right seat and back up and let them do their thing. And I'm not saying that can't ever happen, but most of the time it won't. And his whole sentiment was, as he's grown, and they're now growing into their 5th location, as the foundation has widened, as has his ability to provide very detailed structure in the onboard expectation and training of the new team member, which I thought to be unbelievable advice. So the second thing with leadership is on-the-job training. The 3 to that, it could be a 2A, 2B here, but meeting schedules and pulse. If you don't know when meetings are happening, you don't know what you're talking about in those meetings, they are going to be painful for the people in them. Keep them anchored, keep them on rhythm, talk about the same things, be as consistent as possible. Number 4, we talked about trajectory of roles. What roles are there to be had in your company? You have to know that. If you don't know, nobody's going to know. Number 5 is recruiting. You have to be recruiting year round, right? Like, it's just like getting new clients. You have to be, it doesn't mean you need to be hiring year round, but you should be recruiting and trying to find talent year round. This is something at Varsity House that we've done forever. We've had to speed up our process, but since 2009, we've had a summer internship every year. So we were constantly recruiting people to be put into that summer internship. Now we've gotten to a point where we've outgrown that and we've turned that curriculum into an on-the-job curriculum. However, even if you're a smaller shop, have a summer internship, have a winter internship, like be recruiting students, be recruiting maybe great clients that might want to do the internship, because you never know, like, if you have 1 team member, 2 team members, hey, look, things happen. Even if somebody goes on a 2-week vacation, or somebody gets injured, or somebody decides that they want to move, like, you don't want to be stuck in a lurch. Always be recruiting. Number 3, and this is the last part of the big 3 things, is economic objectives. A company needs a long-term economic objective, but more importantly, from my sentiment, a company needs a short-term economic objective. What's happening in the next quarter to lead to the next year to lead to the next 3? And it's so easy to have this pie in the sky 10-year target, like whatever it may be. But sometimes it feels so far away and so far removed, it's hard to be actionable and reverse engineer that to happen. But when you look at 3 years, 3 years is not that far away. 1 year is not that far away. And quarterly, shoot, I mean, we're 10 weeks away from the end of 2023. This year went fast. Quarters go fast. So having a economic objective quarterly, yearly, leading to a 3-year target, very powerful. We've talked on the show before, but I've stolen this from Donald Miller, but he talks about having 3 economic objectives. And we have 3 economic objectives here. And the economic objective is, for us, how many clients, how many locations, how many members, and by when. And we've printed out a cardboard cutout and framed it and given it to every single person on the team. And on that cutout, it has our core values, our mission, like why clients should want to train with us, and the critical actions that we need to do across the board to get there. And I'm proud to say that though all of those economic objectives will be realized 6 months prior to the date that we originally forecasted. We printed these out a little over 2 years ago, and here we are. And it's come to life because they all sit on the desk. I know this will be transcribed to YouTube, but they're right here. It's in front of you. And it's on whether people are thinking about it consciously, subconsciously, it's in our line of sight every day. It's something that we review every month, every quarter, annually, and we've gotten there. And we've gotten there to no surprise of anybody on the team. And somebody might be like, well, how much economic or how much financial information should I share with the team? Are we like going line item by line item on a P&L? No. But the basis of like what makes a healthy gym business or our budget, we absolutely are. And, it's our sentiment and my belief that I'd rather empower people on our team to know the truth, good or bad, than to make up assumptions and stories as to what's happening on our team or what they think is happening on our team. Because people have great imaginations if left to their own, left to come up with their own ideas of what's happening. And sometimes, like, you could just, if you're somebody that doesn't really share a lot of financial information, I think a powerful drill would be to ask somebody on your team, what do you believe the profit margin to be in this company? People are like, I don't know, like people pay $300 a month. I know what I get paid. I think rent is this. So I don't know, 50%. And I know if you're listening to this and you're like, man, if I had a 50% profit margin, I'd be crushing it. And we all know that there's, credit card fees, insurance fees, there's variable expense, there's just so many expenses that you would never foresee when you first got into business that are there. But a lot of people don't realize that. So if you don't talk about the budget and you don't talk about what's healthy and you don't reverse engineer how many members or at what price or at what acquisition cost it's going to take you to get there, people start making it up and there starts to be resentment and people don't know like how to progress in your company. But if you tell them like, hey, here are the roles in the company. If you want to make more money, you need one of these roles. If you want one of these roles, these are the skills you need. Like, be upfront and honest. And it brings me to the last point of the show here. Incentive pools versus bonuses. And I'm guilty of this. And in years past, it'd be like, hey, we get to Christmas time, holiday time, New Year's, and be like, all right, it's time for bonuses, regardless of the performance of the company. And it almost like, and we had people that were totally our core values, but it almost became an expectation, not in a bad way. I don't mean it in a bad way at all, but we weren't really sharing the status of the company throughout the year. And there was one year in particular, I remember it was about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. We had a bad year. We just did not have, we had a great revenue was good, profitability wasn't. And we got to the end of the year and we're just like, shit, like, we owe these bonuses, but the scoreboard doesn't really prove it to be so. And we figured it out and we paid it and whatever. But I was like, that's not going to happen again. And we're going to be upfront and honest so people know the scoreboard, so they know it. Like if we lose, like there's no participation trophy. So it went from a mindset shift of bonus versus incentive. And we really shifted to be more of a incentive-based company where everybody on the team, part-time to facility leader, they have a set hourly rate and or salary, depending on the position in the company. And everybody can improve their earnings if they earn it. And at the seminar, that was something that really captured people's attention. I had a lot of questions about it. That is a full webinar. That is something that we cannot break down in the next 5 minutes. But, just from a strategic standpoint, people get to a point where bonuses are expected. And if you don't share financial information, if somebody's working hard and doing their job, yeah, it should kind of be expected. But if you have an incentive where it's earned and you're measuring and you're sharing and you're contributing as a unit, people can clearly know, like, oh shit, like if I can crank out like another, 2 sales this month, we're gonna unlock that next level of incentive. Or if we can get our attrition from 5% to 4% by running, an attendance challenge, like maybe we can squeeze out like the next percentage of the incentive. Like it's very detailed, but I can tell you from experience, we have pulled a tremendous amount of unused capacity out of humans on our team by the right people knowing what makes a business work. And the only way they can know that is to understand the budget, review the budget, and have a clearly defined incentive pool. And that has made us a much more effective team. So those were my big takeaways from the event. I mean, there were so many. I know Adam and Joe are gonna have great shows on their segments as well. But if you have any specific questions about today's podcast, you could shoot me an email directly at dan@varsityhousegym.com. Happy to answer them. Answer emails all week from people that listen to the show or are members of the Strongest Year program. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help progress this industry forward and continue to professionalize strength and conditioning for coaches worldwide. So I appreciate you listening. The best way that you could pay this forward is to share it with a fellow fitness professional, gym owner, meathead that is trying to turn their passion for strength into a true profession. And if you want to come hang out with us, like I said, October 18th webinar. But if you want to get here in person, November 30th, December 1st, 2 full days of the Business of Strength immersion here at Varsity House Gym Orangeburg. Until next time, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you later.